Hello, Packers fans, wherever you may be, and happy Saturday. It's time for another edition of the Pack Attack Cast. This is our preseason edition of our pregame show. It's going to be a little different than the regular season. In the regular season, we're going to be talking a lot more about matchups, injury reports, impact players of the game. Like, it's going to be a much more in-depth review. But this is the last game of the preseason. Don't know which players are going to play on which teams. We don't know how the game is going to go from a game flow standpoint. We don't know how the coaches are going to coach the game. Are they going to be aggressive? Are they going to be vanilla? It's really hard to really have an in-depth preseason game as far as the strategy of the game, impact players, things of that sort. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some general discussion about the game, what to look for as far as what's going to impact the final roster, and then we're going to spend the second half of today's stream doing some question and answer segment, I should say, from you, the viewers. So that's what we have on tap for today. So let's go through what to look for in this preseason game between the Packers and the Seahawks. Of course, I will be having a post-game discussion of this game right after it ends. I might be doing a play-by-play. We're going to have to play that by ear. I'm not sure if I'm going to have friends and family over for the game. If I am, I'm going to watch the game with them. If I'm solo, then I'm definitely going to do a watch party. So watch for that tomorrow, later on this evening before the game. The game is at 3 p.m. Green Bay time, and it will be broadcast on the NFL Network in its entirety. So you don't have to scramble around to try to figure out where you can watch this game. It's going to be on the NFL Network. So that is a great thing. The Colts game was a little bit more of a challenge to find if you were outside of Green Bay proper. I had to watch it on NFL Plus, and I had to watch the Colts broadcast, which didn't give me as much insight into the Packers as I would like, but at least the Packers won. So let's talk about what to see in this game between the Packers and the Seahawks at Lambeau Field. It's our final preseason game. It'll be interesting to see who plays in this game. Some teams look at this as the warm-up for the regular season, and you'll see starters. Some teams will say, we're going to put our starters in bubble wrap, so it's really impossible to predict who's going to play in this game. If I had to guess, I would say we would have some of the starters on offense for the first half and some of the starters on defense for the first quarter because we have fewer depth options on offense right now due to injuries than we have on defense. So it makes sense for some of the starters to be out there. There's not going to be Jordan Love, but Malik Willis, I'm hoping, will get the first half of this game. We'll see how that plays out. But what to look for in this game for the Green Bay Packers? We're going to look at position battles. Cornerbacks. We're not looking at the starting top four cornerbacks. Those are pretty much been decided. But we're looking at the back end of the cornerback roster. Who is going to play? Who is going to make an impact? And who's going to make an argument to be the starter or to be a depth player on the active roster? The cornerbacks did not play that great against the Colts. There was a lot of open Colts receivers. So I'd like to see the depth cornerbacks on the roster make a stand here literally for their livelihood by making a strong showing against the Seahawks. Defensive line depth. So one of the things that I've been quite happy with in all of the preseason games is the D-line depth has looked really good for the Green Bay Packers. Who is going to make the active roster? Who's going to make the practice squad next week? The Packers have to make decisions on their roster on Tuesday. The play in this game is going to impact those roster decisions, so let's watch that very closely. At linebacker, does Hopper make a push for more playing time? Tyron Hopper has looked great in practice. He's looked great in the preseason games. Can he make a push to be that third linebacker in early downs that's currently been allotted to McDuffie? Can Hopper make a push to be a starter? That's something we're going to watch very closely. For offensive line, the top 7, in my opinion, are locked up for the offensive line, and there's spaces for 2 or maybe even 1 player left on the active roster. Who are those 1 to 2 players that are going to make an impact in this game and get on the active roster? Who's going to end up on the practice squad? And once again, for the whole roster, who is going to end up on the practice squad? So it's a common misconception that the practice squad in the NFL is just about player development. It's also about players that the Packers can use in practice to simulate what they're looking at against their opponents. So it's not just a development squad, it's a practice squad. These are players that you want to use in practice to show your offense and defense different looks. So that's all that goes into it. It's not just the player with the most development, it's the players that can be also developmental pieces, depth pieces, but also pieces that can be used in practice to simulate an opponent. So all those things go into the decisions on the practice squad. You have to remember, a player that's signed to the Packers practice squad can be signed by another team to their active roster. So it's a real game of cat and mouse with the practice squad. So we're going to have to see who ends up there. We're going to talk more about where I think the final roster is going to be on our episode next Monday, and next Tuesday we'll have the final active roster and practice squad roster to talk about. Do the Green Bay Packers take the energy from all the fighting and practice on Thursday and bring it to their game on Saturday and compete to win this game? I want to see a competitive Packer roster trying to win this game. Not only is it important for the Packers to see the players fight for their roles on the team, but it's also very important to see the team play with energy and enthusiasm going into the regular season. For the Seahawks, the Packers have been playing solid running defense in the preseason. Can the Seahawks get a push in the rushing game? The Seahawks have a very solid running back room. I want to see the Packers' second line of defense continue to show their ability to shut down the running game consistently. The Seahawks have a solid group of receivers. Can they test the cornerbacks that are fighting for positions? And can the Packers show better coverage than they showed against the Colts? Sorry about that. That is what I'm looking for in this preseason game. Again, it's really hard to talk about impact players, this player against that player. We're going to really dive into that week 1 of the regular season. So that is really all I have for you for the preseason notes. We'll have a lot more after the game where we can really break down who performed, who struggled, and how that's going to impact the roster. I want to spend a few minutes now taking some questions from the audience that I've been collecting for the last couple days to fill out the rest of the stream. John from LA wants to know, why are you so confident the Packers pass rush will improve in 2025? Well, my answer to that is, where there's smoke, there's fire. We've seen smoke throughout practice, throughout the preseason games, that the pass rush is going to improve. I expect that to be the case in the regular season. LVN has shown major steps in practice, including the joint practices. Rashawn Gary seems more comfortable in the defense this year. Kenny Clark is healthy after a bad toe injury he fought through all of last year. The overall depth of the defensive line has improved. And Edgerrin Cooper is the wild card when it comes to the pass rush. And I think with a whole season of work, Edgerrin Cooper alone is going to make this pass rush better, because he didn't see a lot of snaps early on last year. He's going to be the starter throughout the whole season. That's going to only help the pass rush. So barring injuries, I think the Green Bay Packers are going to be a top 6 pass rush unit. And I'm not talking about sacks, because sacks can be misleading. The Packers were actually 8th in sacks last year, but most of that was from 3 games. When I talk about top 6 pass rushing unit, I'm talking about pass rush win rate. How often do the Green Bay Packers win their pass rush reps against the opposition? And I think they could be top 6 and put consistent pressure against the quarterback in 2025. Next question we have is from Pack for Life. What do you think the ceiling for Jordan Love is in 2025? This is a real simple question for me. The ceiling for Jordan Love in 2025 is Jordan Love at the end of 2023. In 2023, Jordan Love was a top 5 quarterback. If healthy, Jordan Love is going to be a top 10 quarterback, and he could end up anywhere from top 5 to top 10. If this is the case, and the Packers are winning, especially in the division, I think he will be a MVP candidate this year. Jordan Love has all the tools that he had in 2023, plus he has more experience from 2024 and 2025. Can he take that experience plus that playmaking ability in 2023 and take his game to the next level? That is what is going to determine the season for Jordan Love, plus health, of course. I've got a note from Jim from Appleton. Jim, I'm going to be staying in Appleton when I go to see the Packers game on week 1. Hopefully I'll run into you somewhere walking around the streets of Appleton. Really worried about the secondary this year. Please give me hope. Jim, it's okay. The secondary, the players we have on the roster are better than what we had in the wild card game against the Eagles. Don't let Jaire Alexander's departure impact your picture. Jaire Alexander was not a player for the Green Bay Packers in the playoffs last year, and he was not the reason that they won or lost that game. The secondary is better than it was in that playoff game. In addition to that, the pass rush is going to be better than last year. The secondary doesn't need to be great. It needs to hold up until the pass rush gets to the quarterback. Both of these things need to happen. The secondary can be solid, and they need to hold the line while the pass rush gets to the quarterback. If these two things happen, the Green Bay Packers secondary will be fine this year. Let's go to Rick James. I'm wondering if this is the Rick James. What are the remaining key position battles, and how would you handle them? I think this is a great question, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about that as we get closer to the start of the regular season and the start of the final and the beginning of the final roster, which I expect to see on Tuesday. Okay? Most starters are pretty much set in stone barring an injury right now, but there are 2 key competitions that I'm really watching right now. First is left tackle. In my opinion, Walker is my starter at left tackle against the Lions, with Jordan Morgan getting some reps at left tackle and guard as needed, and this might last until the bye week. At the bye week, the Packers need to make a decision. Is it Jordan Morgan or is it Walker? You don't make a change, in my opinion, until the bye week. You can have Jordan Morgan get in there and get some reps, but I really think Walker is your starter until the bye week, and then during the bye, you make a change at left tackle. Let's go on to my number 2 training camp battle right now, which is McDuffie versus Hopper. McDuffie is probably my starter week 1 against the Lions, but Hopper should get some snaps on early downs. Then we will see if Hopper gets so good that you can't keep Hopper off the field. It's McDuffie's job until Hopper takes it away. Does he take it away in the preseason game this week? Does he take it away with some big plays in week 1? Or is it something that maybe, again, happens during the bye week? We're going to have to see what happens there. And our final question for today is from Tim from Green Bay. Against the Lions week 1, what is your preferred nickel look? Oh, that's a great question. And I've been thinking about this question a lot as well. Key caveat, assuming everyone is happy, in nickel downs against the Lions, I have Keyshawn Nixon on one side, I have Corey Valentine on the other side off the bench, and I have in the slot Nate Hobbs. I'll go one step further. If St. Brown lines up on the outside, I might have Hobbs follow St. Brown. But what I really am worried about in nickel looks against the Lions is St. Brown in the slot. He was very effective in the slot all of last year, especially against the Green Bay Packers. So I would put Nixon on one side, Valentine on the other, and Hobbs probably against St. Brown in the slot. I would also make sure we would occasionally send 5 rushers on the blitz with Cooper as the extra pass rusher to put pressure on Goff. In addition, I would occasionally take LVN and put him in as defensive tackle and have him and Clark push into Goff's face. We know the Lions' interior offensive line is going to be a source of problem for them, especially early in the year, because they have 3 new starters in the interior offensive line. If you could take LVN and Clark in a special package on certain nickel downs and put the pressure on Goff from the interior line, I think that's really going to cause havoc for the Lions on 3rd down. So that's my prediction for how I would handle the nickel against the Lions in week 1. So that's going to do it for this abbreviated edition of the Pack Attack Cast. Again, we're in the regular season, we're going to have a lot more to talk about in the pregame show. So we'll be talking about what happened in the Packers versus Seahawks game in our post-game show after the game. We'll see you then. As always, go Pack Go, and let's hope the Packers can end the preseason 2-1 with a win against the Seahawks. Talk to you after the game.